Yeah, welcome everyone to this very special event, which we are calling JBNSTS Today. And we'll have the current director of JBNSTS, Dr. Maitree Bhattacharyya. She's also professor at the University of Calcutta. We also have Dr. Paromita Roy, who is the deputy director at JBNSTS. And of course, a very special guest, Dr. Papiya Nandy. She's the former director of JBNSTS and a GB scholar from the 1960 batch. And she currently is at the Center for Interdisciplinary Research and Education and formerly was the emeritus professor at Jagadis University. If I would indulge in a little bit more description of them, introduction of them, because Dr. Maitree Bhattacharyya is not yet present. I'll introduce her a bit more later, but let me introduce Dr. Paromita Roy first. So Dr. Paromita Roy received her PhD in psychology and has more than 25 years of experience working with high ability students of science. And by that, she means us, and we are very grateful for that description of us. She is involved in program development for high ability science students and teacher training development. Her research interests include talent identification and nurture, developing concepts of giftedness, women and girls in STEM. She is currently working on a longitudinal study of JBNSTS scholars and psychology of talented scholars with College of William and Mary at USA and Center for Talented Youth, Dublin City University in Ireland. She was a joint convener of India's first international conference of gifted minds. So giftedness is something that Dr. Paromita Roy associates herself all the time. She has been a speaker at multiple conferences across the world and has contributed book chapters on science education. She has been the principal investigator from India of 2 cross-nation studies on teacher perceptions on giftedness, a research project from University of Erlangen, Germany. She is a recognized mentor of the Department of Science and Technology India for, once again, gifted science students in India. So that's Dr. Paromita Roy. And let me also introduce Dr. Papiya Nandy. So personally, Professor Papiya Nandy has been my teacher in my class when I was first year undergraduate at Jagadis University. I've been fortunate to be working in her lab at Jagadis University. And of course, for all of us, she has been the director at JBNSTS. And for the even broader spectrum of us, she is the first batch, one of the scholars from the first batch of JBNSTS. She received her master's degrees in physics, one from the University of Calcutta, another from the University of California at Santa Barbara, and her PhD on liquid crystals from Kent State University in USA. Her postdoctoral work was in experimental biophysics from Max Planck Institute, Göttingen, Germany. Later, she was associate professor of physics at the University of Ulm, Germany. She joined physics department in Jagadis University, and besides teaching for more than 35 years in the science and engineering faculties, she was in charge of several research projects. Her field of research encompasses membrane biophysics, numerical analysis of DNA and protein sequences, and application of nanomaterials in ceramics and biosystems. I'm sure even more, this is probably an older version of her biography. She has more than 100 research publications in peer-reviewed journals and several patent awards, and has guided several PhD and master's theses. And of course, she has played an exemplary role to make JBNSTS a vibrant and dynamic institute to motivate, identify, and nurture young, talented science students and establish the base of scientific inquiry and culture of tomorrow. So with that, I would probably first like to invite Professor Nandi to say a few words. Dr. Paromita Roy has said you should say several words for us. So please.
Well, Debarghya, were you talking about me?
Yes, yes.
Anyway, it is very nice to come to JBNSTS back again in a different role. But JBNSTS, I don't understand why I'm a guest of JBNSTS. I had always been part of JBNSTS as a scholar, as director, and director was a short term, 15 years only. But JBNSTS scholar, I had been a long JBNSTS. I've seen how it has grown up, starting from Mrs. Shen. My part was really not that big. I just handed it over, and now Paromita and Maitree are taking it up to a higher and higher and higher level. I'm very thankful because after all, JBNSTS is also my institute. So if it grows well, if it does well, I feel proud and happy about it. Thank you, Paromita.
Thank you. Papiya Di, I think you should start the story.
Which story?
What happened so many years ago? What happened? How did you first come to know about that you had got the JBNSTS scholarship?
How I got to know about JBNSTS was my mother's grandmother.
No, she read it in the scholarship. Okay.
She read it in the newspaper that there is a scholarship, and she said, "Why don't you apply?" My mother's grandmother, just imagine. Well, I applied and somehow I got it too. But then Chundi was there. He brought the letter to me, and it was so nice for our case. The first time we got the JBNSTS scholar. Only Jawaharlal Nehru came from Delhi, and he gave the award to all of us. And next day in the Statesman newspaper, my picture came in the front, and all the 9 other boys, they were very angry. Why my picture came? Why not their picture? Like that. But then for many years, I was away from JBNSTS. I was doing my studies, etc., etc. But every year, Mrs. Deepavati Shen, the director of the time, she used to send us a birthday greeting card, which meant a lot to us. That they haven't, the institute, my former institute, hasn't forgotten me. But then one day, Mrs. Deepavati Shen told me that I would like to be the JBNSTS director. I said, really? Okay, I will try. And I became the director. For 15 years, I was the director. Lots of things happened. We got Mrs. Shen got the land from government of West Bengal, and then she got the land, but she didn't have enough money to build the building. But she collected materials, building money from our scholars from different sources. And after she left, I had the duty to pick it up. And then when we started doing this thing, and then all on a sudden, Paromita and I, we realized that the previous owner of the land, he has put a stop on the thing. So we had to go to the Thana, local Thana, Kosba Thana. And Kosba Thana, we reported there, that filed a report. And they said, that gentleman, he said that, we are the king here. Who are you? I said, we bought the land. Who are you? And it went on and on. Then we went to the court. Good friend, who took the case, our case. Three times we went, and Paromita had headache, I had headache. But then finally we got the land back to us, and the court ordered that if anybody wants, goes into the land, then he will be taken to the jail. So the people were bringing the bricks and everything, keep it outside. They were not allowed to go inside. Anyway, we got the land, we got the building, everything happened slowly. In the beginning, the second floor was not ready. So we wrote to Shubir Raha, he was the chairman of ONGC. He said that we have a land, we have a property, and we want to build a dormitory for the students. Please help us. So without even asking, how much do you want? We said, this much we want, and we send the money. And I wrote to him that you send the money and we have built it now. Would you please come and take a look at it and inaugurate it? But then by then he had got cancer and he could not come. But anyway, we moved in to the building. Jyoti Boshu was our, what was he? President. Paromita? No, not
Yes, he was our president.
President or chairman?
I think he was president Maitree because sorry, Papiya Di, he was president. কেননা তখন তো আমাদের চেয়ারম্যান বোধহয় ছিলেন কল্যাণদা ছিলেন.
Chairman was Kullan. Kullan was there. People were there. But the thing is that who was the governor then? What role the governor played?
Governor was before that. Governor was before that. Papiya Di, governor was the president before that. But after Nurul Hasan passed away, the governor, then we asked Jyoti Babu to be our president. He was president, and Kollanda was the chairman.
But where was the president? I mean, the governors. All the time we had one governor.
After that, he was honorary. All the governors were honorary.
The governor was the chief patron. After then all the time. Right now, the governor is not chief patron of JBNSTS.
No.
Nothing to do with it. Okay,
No.
so that's the story in a nutshell. So we used to give 10 scholarships. For that, we had to go borrow from everybody. But now I see they are giving, yesterday, the prize distribution ceremony, there were 150 students got the scholarship, which is a big quantum jump. I cannot think of it, but it is good, very good. And we had a small pond, and there was flowers blooming there. Shaluk full. Water hyacinth was blooming there. So one day, one professor of botany from Kolkata University came, and I showed him the water hyacinth. Aqua orchid, I have never seen that, but that was a plastic flower. So I didn't allow him to go near that thing, then he will realize it is a plastic flower. But it looked nice. But now I see that JBNSTS is going to be the center of innovation there. It is good. It is proceeding far and far. Okay, that's my story.
No, it isn't. It's not even the beginning of the story.
My story with JBNSTS is the same story of with Paromita during this time, because we work together, hand in hand and hand out of hand. Okay.
Now, I remember that the JBNSTS number of 10 scholars first changed from 2000 onwards, because I think when Papiya Di joined us, it was just 10. Sometimes it was even 9 scholars. But then with a lot of, persuasive powers of Papiya Di, she could finally rope in a few more. So by the time it was 2004-05, Papiya Di, we had 15 to 16 scholars. But we had increased that number to 15, 16. And then in about another 5 years, it increased to about 20. But that's where it got saturated, because at that time, we were still dependent on private donors for the scholarship money. I still remember Papiya Di would invite people from the department, from the higher education department, or from anywhere, and she would make them sit right across her, opposite her during lunchtime. And during lunchtime, she would broach the topic of how is the scholarship seen. And by the end of that lunch, in most cases, we'd have a couple more scholarships in our hand. And none of us would actually concentrate on the food we were having. We were so busy trying to figure out what Papiya Di is saying, because we knew that another scholarship is coming our way. So
I had
all kinds of frustrations.
I still have that friend. He was a big businessman. I said that, please give us a scholarship in your father's name. Don't ask for money, because we don't have money. All our businessmen, they never have money. I said, আমি বাবার নাম ভুলতে বসেছি. So in that case, you give a scholarship in your father's name, you will remember his name, and we will also remember his name. So that was that Paromita. Actually, he's very good.
কি বলুন তো
প্রেসিডেন্সি থেকে বিএসসি করে he went to IIT Kanpur, Bhuban Jyoti Bhattacharya.
Bhuban. Right.
He decided to go to IIT Kanpur. I said, Bhuban, we cannot give you scholarship outside the state. Then he said, then I cannot continue my studies. He was coming from a very poor family. So then I went to that businessman. I said that, look, you can help us. Do you think we should not study anymore? Because of you. And okay. So he did it. Anyway, he is now professor in Chicago, some university, I have forgotten. But he comes to India and every time he comes and sees us.
Yes. I also remember another incident when we were talking to somebody and Papiyadi asked that person that apni tale ekta scholarship dichchen to, তখন that person said ekta. So Papiyadi said na amar mone hocche apni tinte bollen er age, and she got 3 from him.
But now we don't have to work that hard, right, Paromita? It comes
Yes,
from the
now the scholarship issue is not the problem. Now we have the problem of numbers, right? Earlier because the number is very high of scholars, then, arranging programs for them is also a challenge, because earlier on we used to be able to get everybody in one group. এখন সেটা হচ্ছে না, because there are so many of them from different institutions, so everybody's schedules are not matching. And in any case,
go ahead. I have one question.
Yes, please.
So many scholarships. Has the quality is compromised?
Papiyadi, that's a very, very controversial question. Ideally, from an official point of view, I don't know how to put it, but yes, it has been compromised to some extent. I'm not just talking about the brilliance of the scholars. I'm talking about how much we can cater to them. That has definitely been compromised, because there is a finite time that we have with scholars. There's a finite amount of energy we have to be able to get everybody. That has definitely got affected. I still remember, this is for the rest of the audience, Papiyadi may not remember also. Papiyadi je bochor join korlen, সেই বছরের scientific creativity test was held in SN Bose National Institute. তখন তো আমাদের নিজেদের বাড়ি ছিল না। So we used to take the kids like kittens all over the place. এখানে বেড়াল ছানা নিয়ে আমরা কোনো ইনস্টিটিউটে গিয়ে ক্রিয়েটিভিটি টেস্ট করতাম। তো এটা পাপিয়াদি জানেন না। তার আগে when I was working with Mrs. Shen, I was so used to a very Loreto head of the department kind of person, who was extremely prim and proper and extremely formal when it came to official things. Mrs. Shen. So I had grown up, I had got training under her for 7 years, and then after Papiyadi joined, we had this, it took us about a couple of years, at least me, a couple of years to stop gasping at the changes which Papiyadi brought in, because every time she would say something about doing the things, I would just tell her, but ma'am didn't do it that way. So it took me a while to get that, because I still remember in the first creativity test, we had this girl who was extremely ill, and she was not just ill, I think she was psychologically also very, she was not very happy about coming all the way for the creativity test. Basically, she had given up hope. She had said that, na amar shorir kharap hoyeche, ami SCT dite parbo na. And I still remember exactly the place. Papiyadi said that ashbe na mane astei hobe. And she called the scholar, and she says, তখনও তো আমরা জানি না ও scholar হবে কিনা, but there was something about her, I think Papiyadi felt that she should give it a chance. So the examination originally used to start at around 10:30, but this girl was sent the car. She used to live quite far away. বুঝতে পারছেন আমি কার কথা বলছি, পাপিয়াদি?
নামটা মনে নেই, কিন্তু
নিবেদিতা। So Papiya sent the car. She came in at I think 3 o'clock, and Papiya said, "Don't worry, you just take the exam." So fortunately, Nivedita also was very sporting at that point, because now she had no choice. Then she took the exam and she did brilliantly. She did absolutely brilliantly.
But I remember when the scholarship got increased from 10 to 15 or something, I told Ajay Vishwas, one of our scholars, the doctor, remember Ajay Vishwas, Paromita?
Yes, yes.
Giving scholarship to 10, 15 students. Oh, Papiya, like Gandhari, you are giving birth to hundreds of children. No, that's not. Anyway.
Yes, Paramita Di and Papiya Di, I think all of us would like to hear. We definitely had a glimpse of what was happening earlier, but what are the changes? What's currently happening? I think there is a lot of new scholars, and we and Paramita Di and Maitree Di had organized this year's test online, so that's another new thing. And then there's this center of excellence. I know only partially, so I guess that's the aspect of organizing this event. We would like to hear more, like what are the research activities going on, what are the facilities, how have the facilities grown, and things like that, if you would like to deliberate.
Right. So Papiya, would you like to say something, or should I just go through a brief chronology?
Yeah, please go ahead. The day I left, my staff members, they gave me a bunch of flowers. I walked into Paromita's room, left the flower there and left. I didn't do that. Anyway, tell me now all the stories.
Okay. So just in a brief, JBNSTS started in 1960 from a little house, from a very one room in Bose Institute, and then that increased to 2 rooms eventually. And one of the rooms was where Professor D.M. Bose used to sit himself. So the first batch of scholars, the first 6-7 years of the scholars, they visited, in fact, not first 6-7, I think the first 15 years, the scholars visited the Bose Institute place for JBNSTS. And there were, I think, just 3 or 4 staff members. Chondida was a walking encyclopedia on our scholars. I mean, one cannot talk about JBNSTS without Chondida, because he kept the scholars together. Tokhon tar mobile chilo na, phono chilo na. So Chondida used to go to every scholar's house, meet them occasionally, get news from them. So the birthday cards that Papiya is talking about, it was his responsibility to remind the director then that এর জন্মদিন এখন, আর তখন তো আর কম্পিউটার ছিল না, so everything was done manually by Chondida. And তখন আমি শুনেছি মিসেস পটেল ছিলেন, মিসেস কমলা পটেল, তার আগে প্রফেসর মিত্র ছিলেন. So the first phase, I would say the first 7-8 years of JBNSTS's existence was struggling to hold on to a program that catered to high ability students, but it was a lot of trial and error. And I think both the first 2 directors, that is Mrs. Kamla Patel and Dr. Mitro, both of them had to spend a lot of time in conceptualizing the what JBNSTS is going to be. Incidentally, I think the scholars should know that we are all aware of the very important Westinghouse Science Talent Search, which even till today is supposed to be one of the highest ranked talent searches in the world. And it was conducted by Science Service Washington. And even now, if you see research papers on Westinghouse Science Talent Search, it is extremely highly rated. So when we were talking about coming up with JBNSTS, a program like JBNSTS, there was this lady at Science Service Washington. She was Mrs. Margaret Peterson. She's very famous. If you Google her now, you will even find stuff about her. Margaret Peterson she got a Ford Foundation grant to visit India just to help us set up JBNSTS. So even today, we mentioned in our proposals that we are tailored after the Westinghouse Science Talent Search. We get a lot of positive response from people around us. So when that started, and by then, Papiya, these batches and many batches after that got selected, and there was this element of extremely strong connection with the scholars. I mean, everybody was just part of the family in every possible way. And from the letters that I have seen, it was very formal, but it was also very personalized. So those letters give us an idea about the times that our administrators and the scholars went through. Then of course came the time when Mrs. Sen by then had already joined JBNSTS as a adjunct faculty, and by about 1976, I think Mrs. Kamala Patel wanted to move to the US, and she handed over the reins to Mrs. Sen, and Mrs. Sen had just formed a geography department. She was the head of the geography department of Loreto, and she came in here and she took up the matter in her hands, and we saw unprecedented growth during that time. She was with us for 24 years. She was with JBNSTS for 24 years, approximately the same time coinciding with Jyoti Basu's chief ministership in West Bengal. So she took it to a completely new level.
Many important things, many new things. One is that creativity test. It was not there. Like when we got the scholarship, there was no creativity test. Had it been there, probably we wouldn't have got it. And then he took this from MHRD. He got the northeastern states, all the northeastern states. He got this chance of working there and doing science camps and workshops. Paromita also remember, we used to go there quite often there. But then all of a sudden, MHRD stopped giving us the scholarship from there. So we had to come back to West Bengal. But then what happened? BST from West BST, one gentleman, Dr. Amalesh Mukhopadhyay, he said he is coming to Kolkata and he would like to see our institute. So we got him here to our institute, and he was very surprised and impressed that we have an institute, really. It's not on the road at a NGO, no. So he went back and he gave us the scholarship. For many years we were getting only from BST scholarship, and then it went like that. Something like that. Okay, Paromita, you are okay.
Okay. So when in 1976, after Mrs. Sen joined, she consolidated on the program. And I think by then JBNSTS, because by the virtue of its scholars, had sort of established itself as a sort of a elite academic group, elite not in terms of, economic elite, but intellectual elite, where everybody was extremely good and extremely competent. Because by 1976, Papiya and subsequent batch scholars, they had all started, showing their mettle in the professional world. Everybody had joined big institutes. They're pursuing PhDs under renowned scientists. And today, going to America seems to be like going to a mall next door. But during that time, going to study abroad was a very, very big thing. And most of our scholars did not come from very rich families. So it was a great honor for us to see that how our scholars were doing. And after, I think, 1976, it was the scholars' achievement which really pushed us through. And Mrs. Sen could then concentrate on the real program development, how to bring in new stuff, how to use new methodologies. And according to what she has told me, she had given me a little note, she used to treat me as a prodigy. She had given me a little notebook, a handwritten notebook, which I still have, where she has written about her thoughts about the scientific creativity test. So she started thinking about it from approximately 1979. 1979. Her first jottings were then. So 3 years after she became director. And by the time it was initiated, I'm not very sure. I got I think it started, the first creativity test was held in 1985 or 86, which means it took her about 4 to 5 years to develop this. And by Jove, it really worked. I mean, it was such a fantastic exam, and it continues to be such a fantastic exam. And in her jottings, she had a strange way of thinking about it. In her jottings, she would talk about how which universities are doing this kind of work. It would talk about what are the negatives and the positives about bringing this to India. And she referred to scholarly literature in a big way to formulate this test. And I think she had some very key people who were helping her out with the educational part of it. Some of them I know about, others I don't. And then when she started the creativity test, it completely took on a new meaning. And by 1987, 1988, incidentally, Papidi, I think there was one batch that we didn't have an exam during the Bengal famine, I think. Was it the 1977 batch, I think? We don't have anybody from the 1977 batch. Because that 1 year...
Once I noticed, is it my observation or is it correct or not? The scholars from the first batch, first, second, third batch, they did not stay back in USA or somewhere. Like Kolan Vidan Sinha and Anand Krishnan and things like that. They could have easily stayed in another country, do very well, etc.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. You're right. In fact, I did a generational study, Papyadi. I did a generational study of all our scholars, because we now have 5 generations of scholars. So the batch that you are talking about, yours and another batch, 62 batch, you're of the first the silent generation, then there is the baby boomer generation, and then there is the generation X, then there's the millennium, and now is the generation Z. So when I did this generational gap study, I saw that most of you who were from the silent generation, even though you went abroad for your higher studies, many of you came back. And many of you were from the basic sciences. And then the baby boomer generation went on to engineering. And you'll be surprised that now the latest generation, the ones we are talking about, Gen Z, many scholars are here today for that. They are more into, again, they are coming back to basic science, and many of them are going for medicine. So there has been,
Have you written any paper on this thing?
I have given a presentation and I'm writing a paper. I'm writing a paper.
Send me a copy of it. Forward with that.
Absolutely. I shall be sharing it. I shall be sharing it with the JBSPDF. It is meant mainly for us, so that we know what we are talking about. So it is basically for us only. So definitely it will be circulated. And so I think out of these 60 years, 1 year we did not hold the exam because of the Bengal famine. And then it continued. And like Papyadi was saying, I'm witness to a lot of trials and tribulations, because, I've been here for donkey's years. So 87, after the creativity started, it just went on. And somehow the news sort of leaked to Delhi. So Delhi got in touch with us, the central government, and they said that we hear that you're doing this wonderful program for students of West Bengal. So why don't you merge it with the Ministry of Human Resource Development? And we can do it all over India. So Mrs. Sen was a person that small is beautiful and do it effectively. So Mrs. Sen said, no way. This stays in West Bengal, and this stays for very, very select group of students, and we will certainly not function out of Delhi. So they tried to, convince her. She wasn't. And then finally they offered her that from 1991, they said, would you please take up this program at a junior level for class 11, 12 students in the 7 northeastern states. So basically she got the choice of doing an extended version of the JBNSTS scholarship program, the senior scholar, applied to the junior group and do it for either Orissa, Bihar or the 8 northeastern states. So Mrs. Sen wrote to Orissa and Bihar. Their governments were not interested. So we naturally went to, at that time it was a matter of survival, because if we didn't have the central government grant, Mrs. Sen just couldn't think of expanding what she had planned. We desperately wanted that this program should have much more visibility. So we took on that project, and we had absolutely no idea about the Northeast then. Northeast was for us Assam and maximum Tripura. So amader kono idea chilo na what it entails. And the entire groundwork was done by Mrs. Shen from the years 91 to 93. And the first Northeastern State program was held in 1992, which was inaugurated in Shillong, after which I joined in 1993. So I basically joined as a project staff for the Northeast project, because we didn't have any other staff for the JBNSTS core program. So after I joined, the program took off a little more because we were 2 of us, and extensive travel, absolutely extensive travel to the Northeast, which continued for nearly 15 years, then with Papiya Di also. And we did that whole program, just 2 or 3 of us. And of course, all our staff, they were, we used to have trunks of clothes and stuff always, packed, so that we used to just go wherever we were sort of sent. And the fascinating part was we learned a lot of new things. We understood Northeast India through the project, because otherwise it was not possible. It was the height of the Naga-Kuki war at that time between Manipur and Nagaland. So there were times that we were escorted by the local government or even the central government paramilitary forces. When we went to Arunachal Pradesh, then we have also faced a terrorist threat in Mizoram. When Shantida and I had gone to Mizoram, we were terrorized there. We came in contact with some armed militants. So all that happened. It was really exciting and wonderful. And like this, the program grew, and the Northeast part was a huge success, because it gave us that visibility which otherwise we would have not got. And what happened was that we came to be known as people who integrate the 8 northeastern states. Sikkim joined much later. I think Sikkim joined after Papiya Di joined us, because till then it was just 7 northeastern states. So we were seen as, people who bridge the gap between these 7 northeastern states, because for us, everybody used to come to a common place for a workshop, and it was never that we are having a separate workshop for Nagaland and a separate workshop for Manipur. So we used to have students, and of course we took huge risks, because at any moment, they would they could have broken out into brawls and even fights. And our Northeastern scholars also really supported us in the way that they participated in our programs. So, we used to use guerrilla tactics. We used to talk about holding a workshop. We used to go there for about 7 days, stay completely quiet. While everybody would say, let us talk about it in the newspapers and let us publicize it, we would say, no, please don't publicize it after we have left. So that we would have the workshop in complete confidentiality. I mean, just the resource persons and the students. We would go there, do the workshop, and then just come back. We never used to go to tours around Northeast, go and see this park or that park, nothing. As long as the program was going on, we would be there, and the next day we would come back, and then we would say that, okay, now you publicize. So this continued. And then when Papiya Di joined, the Northeast program was in its full flow. And I think before Papiya Di joined, Mrs. Shen took Papiya Di for a tour to Northeast, and they visited many places. And so Mrs. Sen introduced Papiya Di to all the schools there, and that continued. And then when after Papiya Di joined, there were more programs, and by then, all of us at JBNSTS had become experts in Northeast. So we used to, for us, just at the drop of the hat, we used to go to Northeast, whereas all our friends and neighbors used to say, "How do you manage to do that?" and all that. And we have taken inordinate. Moichidi is here. Hello, Moichidi. Hello, Moichidi. Okay, so I'll continue. When Moichidi is ready, then she can come on. So what I'm trying to tell the scholars is that we had a very, very difficult time. I mean, it was all great fun, but the kind of risk we took, right now, on hindsight, it is like amazing amount of risk we took just for our lives. I mean, nothing else. And every place we went in the Northeast, we faced hostility of different kinds. In Assam, we faced hostility because we were working with Christians. In Mizoram, we felt hostility. We faced intense hostility because we were working with Assam and Tripura, because Mizoram felt that they were really not the hill state. So we got involved with a lot of geopolitical issues also. And but it was fun, and we did that. And then after Papiya Di joined, we took it to another level. We used to have mega programs, because by then we had got established. And, people knew that we were there for just an educational reason and not for any other reason. Because by then we had already completed nearly 10 years in the Northeast. And when Papiya Di came in, it just took on another that. And this time, under Papiya Di's leadership, we were much more bolder also, because because of the legacy Mrs. Sen had left behind. So it helped us to propel ourselves. But at the same time, around 2004 and 5, I think Papiya Di and all of us started getting a feeling that things may not work out. I'm sorry. This feeling was in 2004, definitely. But the first time we got an inkling about it was in 1999. That is about 6 years after I had joined, and that inkling came when we started getting some kind of threatening letters from anonymous people in the Northeast saying that we don't want you to come to our state. And I think the government of India at that point, they were also feeling the heat, because suddenly Northeast started feeling that why is somebody from the mainland coming here and doing such good work? Why are they so strong in our states? So it's better that we don't let them do this work. So, and like Papiya Di just said, overnight in 1999, it was communicated to us that, slowly take yourself away from the place. And we started having issues with funds and all that. And so you can imagine Mrs. Shen's state.
I was visiting Delhi for some official job, and you people called me up from here that Anita, this project has stopped. And I went to the office and asked, what's the
matter? Just imagine.
No, it stopped. It stopped. Full stop.
So basically from 1999 to 2004, this struggle went on. Of course, we didn't let anybody know. It's the administration who took all the stress. And finally, by about 2004 and 5, Papiya Di was absolutely sure that this was not going to work out. Because, asking a state government for help is one thing, and, keeping on rushing to New Delhi to ask for grant is a completely different thing. And with just the 2 or 3 of us working in this area, it was impossible to run a program as well as, keep asking for money. So we started looking for other avenues. And I remember it was a very difficult time financially also for the organization, because by then our plot of land we had started building. it was inaugurated by a Nobel laureate. The plot of land from Papiyadi's former university. Professor Walter Kohn, chemistry Nobel laureate, came to inaugurate. So we were under tremendous pressure that here we had a building, but we didn't have programs, apart from, of course, the senior talents search. And that was really troubling time. But I don't know, we somehow managed through it. And by about 2007, we were absolutely sure that Northeast is now out of our hands, because Northeast wanted to do it on their own. And they said they will invite us for their help, which Papiyadi declined. She says, no, if we do it, then we will do it. Otherwise, you do it. All the best. And then in 2007, something else happened. We were the first one in India to start the science camp trend. Science camps were being discussed by various educational organizations, even at the center by NCERT. And I still remember I was very, very reluctant to do it because it seemed a lot of work. And Papiyadi just one day told me that, Paromita, we have to survive. So we really do not have the choice right now. We need for our institution to come up and for us to have enough resources. We just need to embark into what is new. And unless we run that race, we will be left behind. And so with that, we started. And fortunately, we had a senior scholar, Dr. Untitled Chatterjee, who was at that time our chairman also. He said that, okay, for us to show what we can do, let's not take money for the first science camp. I will fund the first science camp. And it was gala. It was absolutely fantastic, both in terms of the faculty. We had somebody from US and we had 2 Indian counterparts. And it was an excellent 7-day workshop. And so that was showcased to the government. And within I think months, we were the first people who started the science camp movement in India. And since then, many others have joined in. In fact, the entire DST science camp program, though technically it is a government program, it was completely spearheaded by Papiyadi and some of us who, the entire program format, the way it was going to be conducted was conceived at JBNSTS. And it took India literally by fire. And by the end of it, as of today, now again the science camp with the change of government, that has also got affected. And even today, the other JBNSTS has held, I think, 57 science camps, which is at least 40 more than the next person who has done it. So the second institution probably has done 13. So we are a connoisseur in the field of science camps now, and those models are now being used for other things, because the model, the algorithm is ready to be used in many places, and that's what is being done now. And I think we need a break from at least my voice. Let's have
Sure. Thank you, Paromita. And yeah, we'll hear from you again. So yeah, let's welcome the current director of JBNSTS, Professor Maitree Bhattacharyya. And she received her BSc honors in physics from Presidency College, MSc. Let me put her in the spotlight. So she received her BSc honors in physics from Presidency College, her MSc from the University of Calcutta, and PhD in biophysics and molecular biology from the University of Calcutta. After that, she pursued research with research associateship from the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and joined University of Calcutta as an assistant professor in 1994, where she started with her independent research laboratory. Later on, she was awarded an overseas fellowship and worked as visiting scientist at the University of California, San Diego, USA. And now she is professor at the Department of Biochemistry at University of Calcutta, 14 students have already been awarded PhD degree under her supervision. Maybe the number has increased. And now she is leading a group of several research scholars, which comprises PhD and postdoctoral students. And she, of course, has published several research articles and chapters in books of international repute. So with that, we would like to welcome Professor Bhattacharya. So please.
Welcome, Maitree.
Thank you, Papiya Di. It's a very good evening for us and definitely morning for Debarghya. So now I started with JBNSTS in 2015 as director, but it was not that. Actually, before that, I came to JBNSTS as examiner, as paper setter, as interviewer, etc. So then I had interactions with all the staffs, Papiya Di, Paromita, and all of them. So I liked JBNSTS definitely. The idea, the planning, the thinking, those are all very good, which attracted me to be a part of those. And so I came at JBNSTS, and at that time, when I joined, I was a professor and head of the department in Calcutta University, and also there are several other responsibilities. But actually, I left those responsibilities. Now the number of PhD scholars has been completed 20. It has 20 scholars have submitted their PhD thesis, and I think there are 2 or 3 pending more. So by 2 or 3 years that will be completed. So also it's also now I'm almost completely with JBNSTS. I get very less time to go to university because JBNSTS is such a absorbing organization, and it takes all the time, because you know that since 2015 we have also increased a lot of our new programs, as we have introduced a junior talent search scholarship, which is a very good one, because now I find that class 11-12 students, they need more support because they come from very remote villages. They study in class 11 and 12, and they when they appear for the junior talent search examination, they're in class 11. But many of them come from first generation learners group, and so it's very difficult for them. Without any guidance, they cannot continue their education. And in class 11 junior talent search examination, we get very good talents. Actually, yesterday we observed our ceremony this year in a digital platform. That was also a new experience for us because we didn't know how to organize it. But we thought that we have to complete it because this year, by this financial year, going to complete it by 31st March. So before that, we have to complete this year's examination results and everything. So how to arrange our ceremony on digital. But yesterday we were all busy with that. There was initially a lecture from Professor Saurabh Pal, the director of ISER, and definitely Professor Saurabh Pal delivered an exceptional lecture for the young students. He told that how the world is changing from a subject barrier to interdisciplinary subject. And he described to the students how in very near future, there will be no barrier between physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, computation. And so all will be amalgamated. Otherwise, we will not be able to solve any of the scientific problems which are coming us. So that was a very good lecture. And Dr. Pal, perhaps you know that he is now the director of ISER, but he was in Kanpur IIT He was in Bombay NCL Pune. He was in NCL Pune. So he's a very experienced teacher, and the students placed a lot of questions. I think 80 to 90 questions were given to him. And even there were some questions like, sir, please advise us where physics is better, in Kolkata ISR or in Bombay IIT. But I am really impressed that Professor Pal never took any question lightly. He very seriously took the questions of the students. And so from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., it was a good session with the students. And we had 350 scholars at the platform. There were 56 senior scholars this year, 50 Bigyani Kurna Medha Vritti, and 200 junior scholars, 50 encouragement awardee. So there were 350 scholars, and how to show their certification, because there was no way that we can hand over the certificate in this pandemic time. So Obhijit and Sharojit planned that certificate was placed in the PowerPoint with the photographs of the students with their present school institution, etc., so that at least they can get a feeling that the annual award ceremony is being observed. So we placed it gradually one after another, and we told the students to unmute themselves and give claps. So it ended at 7:30, even with the finishing of national anthem. So definitely it was a kind of good ceremony, but definitely we missed the vibrance of the students, which we get this time. And we have decided that we will keep the certificates and the awards, that is like their bag, their book. We have brought the book for them, that is the Stephen Hawking's last book. I think the 6 questions or something, the last book of Stephen Hawking, which we have bought for them. So that will be also presented them with the certificate and their bag, their scholarship check, etc. So we will now keep this, and we will call them in slots, so that there is no gathering of the students. They can come, say, 10 students each day. So this was the day, actually, that is why the day was very important for us. This is a new experience. I don't know what is going to be in 2021. So this time, perhaps you know that this time also we arranged the examination in a home-based, proctored online examination. And even the scientific creativity test was done online, because this time it was not possible that the students will come and stay at our office, at our dormitory, and they will discuss over the problems. It's all quite impossible. Due to this unprecedented situation, every idea has to be changed. So we planned so that the experts were asked to set the questions, the problems, and the students were given the problems online, and they were allowed 10 minutes to think over it and to work out it. And after that, they were told to present it for more 10 times. So we took some time with them, but the scientific creativity test was also performed online. So these are the present experience. But now today, I don't know. Actually, I joined later due to some personal problems. So that is why I don't know how you started. But perhaps I just told you that because I'm today also, I'm excited that yesterday we observed the annual award ceremony in this way.
Yeah, sure. No, that was very relevant. We were actually approaching that point. We had started with how JBNSTS started and what were the different events, different programs that took place over the years since its inception. Some experiences that Papiya as a student shared, and then how Mrs. Shen had proliferated all of the different programs and about the Northeast programs and how that was taken forth by Papiya Di and Paromita Di. And then we were around that juncture that, it was met with different issues, and it's currently not probably being continued. So that's where we were. But yeah, we were approaching towards what JBNSTS currently is doing. And we definitely also want to know, in addition to the scholarships that JBNSTS gives, the senior scholarships, the BKMB. So for the others who may not be completely aware of the Bigyanni Konna Medhavritti, and please correct me, Maitree Di and Paromita Di and Papiya Di, if I'm wrong, but essentially the JBNSTS examination that we have all gone through, it's the same examination, and the government has said that to encourage STEM education among women, an additional 50 women in who take the same examination, they are awarded this separate scholarship, which is called Bigyanni Konna Medhavritti scholarship. And the junior scholarship, of course, is different. It's for the students in class 11 and 12.
And for junior scholarship, they get rupees 1,250 per month during their class 11 and class 12 journey. And they get 2,500 rupees yearly as a book grant. So this is for the Junior Talent Search Scholarship. And for Junior Talent Search Scholarship, there is the written and interview, but no scientific creativity test. Because they are very young, they have just completed their class 10. So perhaps it's not possible to judge their scientific creativity at this stage.
Yeah, I also want to add that I was on the JBNSTS website a couple of days back to have a glimpse for myself. And I came to know that the top 10 students of the senior scholarship, they also get laptops, which is also another good thing.
Top 10 boys and top 10 girls.
Top 10 boys and top 10 girls, 20 people. So the other thing that I personally am also very proud about is that my high school, South Point High School, and also please correct me if I'm wrong, I think they also got the best school award, as you call it. It's a rotating shield. And during our year also, we won that shield. And I was excited, and I told my teacher about it, and he was like, "Yeah, we get it each year. It keeps rotating to us each year." So I'm sure. I mean, in the past several years, Krishna and other schools have also gotten it, but maybe due to the sheer number of students that South Point produces each year, we happen to probably be the school with the most number of times we have won it.
I still remember Mrs. Solomon of South Point.
South Point. Okay.
I still remember Mrs. Solomon telling us that, Paromita, let us keep this shield. We will polish it every year because it anyway comes back to us. You can take it from us if somebody else qualifies for it.
That's a good observation. Okay. Anything else?
So shall we hear a little bit about what other activities are going on in the building? Like I gather there are some additional research facilities that have been set up. I don't know much at all. So if you want to tell us about that. Maitree Di or Paromita Di.
So you mentioned about South Point. This I want to say that this year South Point received 2 prizes. One for the best school award in Senior Talent Search Scholarship Test, and also one for the best juniors on the basis of Junior Scholarship Test, and another best prize for the Bigyanni Konna Medhavritti also. And your teacher Parthapratim Rai was present there in our platform to be felicitated, and also he spoke a little wishing the students. So definitely South Point is always there. And now presently our chairman, Professor Amita Murad Choudhury, he is also from South Point. So every year whenever South Point gets prize, sir is very happy that South Point is getting the best prize. So this year also DPS Ruby Park did fairly well. They did very good. And this year it's really for which I'm a little bit sad. That is, please 1 minute, please.
Right. So we'll wait for Maitree to come back. But meanwhile, let me just give you an idea why we think KMB is going to be very, very important. Because while we were doing our research, just to give you an idea, we have a total of 987 male scholars and 151 girl scholars. So till up to date, we have 1,138 JBNSTS scholars. So 1138, the 38 is the number if we don't add the ones who were added yesterday. So till the 2020 batch, till the 2019 batch, 1138, of which only 151 women scholars. Sharing a little bit more statistics with you, of these 1138 scholars, 358 are from basic sciences, 322 are from medicine, and 458 are from engineering. About 37% of our scholars live abroad, and most again in the United States, with some other in Europe, and very few in the rest of Asia. Do you know about, we have just lost one of our dear scholars, Shurojit.
What? Yeah,
Shurojit.
I know
yes.
That.
Shurojit, yes. To all scholars who are present here, we have lost, day before yesterday, a senior scholar of the 1980 batch, Professor Shurojit Sengupta. Extremely erudite, great fun to be with, very witty, very talented person. He had
a Nagaland for his workshop.
Yes. Yes. He has come to us. Papiya, he came to us even, just before the pandemic. He was part of the testing process.
In 2019.
Paromita, that this COVID is a blessing in disguise. You see, whatever we are achieving now, because of online and all these things, you can't imagine on Sunday evening we are having a workshop, not workshop, meeting, where Debarghya is somewhere and we are somewhere here and there. All sorts of things are happening because of this thing, isn't it?
Because this year we missed a lot of good students from remote villages, because in their cases, since the examination was completely online, so there were many students who did not have that bandwidth, did not have the internet network, and even some of them did not have the device like a smartphone or computer, etc. And that is why each year we get more brilliant students from many villages, but this time mostly the students are from town and from urban area, not from that rural area. Very few students from rural area. So definitely the internet bandwidth is a problem, because even the students, even if they have the smartphone, but the area local network of Airtel or cable or anything is not that strong, so that they could complete the examination. At the day of examination, one girl student, actually she was crying because she was in Murshidabad, and she called us to tell that she's running from the room to the roof, but there is no internet connection, that her question paper is not being downloaded. So definitely these are the parts actually which were due to this condition, we could not combat this situation. So I don't know what is going to be in 21 September, say. Generally, we take our examination at September. So whether we are going for physical mode or again online, the pandemic situation will guide us what to do. But definitely that's an issue. The program which has been entrusted to us very recently, that is a Science Olympiad for class 9 students. Because I know that is a huge work, because that is for the class 9 students, and the idea is that the examination will be passed at the block level. So each school at the block level will participate with 5 selected students from each school. After that, the 10% of them will be selected for district level. And after that, ultimately, 100 students will be selected from the state level. So there will be 3 level: block level, district level, and state level. And actually, this was a plan from Government of West Bengal, that they wanted to organize a Vidyasagar State Science Olympiad, because in September there is the Vidyasagar's birthday. So they want to celebrate this with this Science Olympiad. And Government of West Bengal requested JBNSTS to conduct that examination. So perhaps we are also going to organize this. But I think it's definitely a landmark in the popularization of science education, because by this way we can reach up to the block level, where definitely we can introduce JBNSTS, our talent search examination, our science camp, science education activities. And even these days we are doing a lot on science teachers training. So last 3 days in this week, we organized a teachers training camp where 250 science teachers participated from morning to evening. And they were all so much enthusiastic that at the last part of this workshop, they themselves presented how to plan a lesson, how to bring something new for the science training, etc. So I think that is also going to be a very successful program, because you know that we cannot identify the talented students even if the science teachers are not that enthusiastic. Because in the classes there are many good students, but if the teachers do not identify them, they do not give them the ambience so that their talent can be divulged. So it's very important. So it's also a very important thing to organize such teachers training program. So now we are also doing that, but definitely we have taken a lot of programs, and our new building is also almost complete. I think by 3 months on building is going to be completed. There we have the plan for 3 new laboratories, 1 computer laboratory, 1 digital library, and 1 meeting room, etc. So I think next time whenever you visit Kolkata, you will be very happy when you come to JBNSTS that so much of facilities are being developed.
So when you say new building, is it not at the same location, or is it like an extension of the
building? Extension of the old building. And so that is also a 3-story complex. That is the just extension of that building, and it will create a 15,000 square feet area, new area.
When I was like the last couple of times that I visited, maybe in 2014 or so, I remember there were few instruments that Obhijitda and Shorjitda they were putting together, and some people were actually working on it the last time I saw. I guess they have been increased, and so do JBNSTS scholars get to work there, or what are those facilities for
Exactly.
what kind of facilities are there?
Now we have a very good biotechnology laboratory. So in biotechnology laboratory, we have spectrophotometer, spectrofluorimeter, and also we have the PCR machines, thermocyclers, the bacterial culture facility, and gel electrophoresis apparatus, etc. So there are many new instruments now, and also we have some new experimental setup for physics and chemistry, the optical bench, the light experiments, and there are several sets of experiments. Definitely, they have been increased a lot, and whenever we are, and also we have a very good smart classroom where 32 computers with facility so that they can anyway they can communicate with any part of the world. So that facility is also with us. So everything is now ready, but just I think we are all waiting the pandemic is to end.
Right, sure. I think I opened the session for anyone to unmute themselves and ask questions to Maitree Di and Paromita Di. Do you have something to add to what?
I just want to sum up all the programs and all the facilities in 5 minutes. So amongst the academic programs, of course, the Senior Talent Search Test is our core program, flagship program. Apart from that, we have 2 other scholarship tests. One is the Junior Talent Search Test, which has started from 2015 onwards, and the Big Nikon scholars. So this is the
one point is to add. Paramita, please also mention about the Junior Bigani Kona Talent Search, which will be added from the next year. 50 Junior Bigani.
Yes, very soon we are going to have a Junior Bigani Kona at the junior level also. Till now, it is only at the Senior Talent Search level. And we are now, and the third scholarship program is the Vidyashagar Olympiad. So these 3 are the examination-based programs. Apart from this, we have quite a few motivational programs, one is a very hugely popular now program, which is the West Bengal District Scheme program, where we work with students of class 8 and 9 from government schools in West Bengal. The private schools are not part of this program. It is purely to encourage teachers and students of both in terms of teacher training as well as student in the class 8 and 9 level. So what has happened is that when these students go through a program of the JBNSTS, they become part of this, they get streamlined into appearing for examinations and being in touch with us. So that is a motivational program. For example, this year we have had
class 8 and 9. No, it is mainly for middle school.
Yes, class 8 and 9. So during the pandemic, we have reached out. We have had online workshops for more than 1,000 students, and so that's the West Bengal District Scheme program. Apart from that, we were doing the science camp programs for so many years under the DST, which Papiya Di initiated. But now with that taken off, but like I said, we have the expertise. So now we are doing many such programs for Kolkata students of class 11 and 12. We are maintaining the same thing, and it's now being done in West Bengal for students of class 11 and 12. Apart from this, our activities also involve at least 12 to 20 biotechnology lab workshops every year, where schools are invited. And these are very small groups. 20 people come work in the lab for a couple of days and gain a lot of experience. Another thing I want to answer to Debarghya was talking about the equipment that we have now a very, very small but very concise kind of a laboratory where people can come and work. They do come and work. In fact, many medical colleges, including one in Pollani, they have asked us that they do not have the latest stuff to do their testing, and they want to collaborate with us. So for us, always our scholars are the first priority. So we always tell everybody that if the scholars want to use it, they will get the first priority. After that, if there is time and space, you're welcome to use it, because we don't want to keep any facility locked away and chemicals getting bad and all that. So that is also happening. Apart from that, because we are now so closely linked to the government of West Bengal, there's a lot of attention on us. And therefore, in a way, there's a lot of pressure also, because there are so many programs that we are invited to conduct, and so many programs that we have to be part of. We try to minimize that, but it is not always possible, because at the end of the day, we are getting crores and crores of funds from the government. But we have been so far, I would like to at least make this comment that till now we have not compromised on the quality of the way we take our exam. We have not compromised on inclusion of anybody for the inclusion or exclusion. It is an absolutely transparent procedure of selection, and the integrity and the importance of the JBNSTS program remains completely intact. And scholars continue to be our assets, and whatever we do, it is only for the scholars, basically. Right, so now I'm ready to take questions.
Sure. Maybe I'll start off with, I've been asking a lot, but I'll start off with a few directed questions. One is the facilities that you mentioned, which can be extended externally. Do you also have like a funding structure for that, like, or is it given for free for external users?
No, actually, we have not taken any funding for them, because actually sometimes even we are encouraging the students taking a project, their internship from NIT students or from any colleges. They are also coming 1 or 2 at a time, so that they can work in the laboratory. But we do not take. I don't know. I don't understand. You wanted to mean that we charge any fees?
Yes. Are there fees?
Yes.
No,
because
we have
the moment we charge fees, we are smart. The moment we charge fees, we won't be able to say no. So we don't want to charge fees, and we should have the last say. So the moment we charge, first of all, JBNSTS is a government organization, and we should not be generating our own money. And secondly, I think all the directors of JBNSTS agree on this, that the moment we take money, then we will have to say yes to many things we don't want to do. So, and the pressure is not so much.
I don't know. Paromita, exactly, I don't want to say that. But the question is that the institution, always I feel, any educational institution should have a benevolent nature. And because science and research, everything is for the society. So it's not that we are going to make any profit out of them. So as long as we are getting funding from government or from the society, then we will not charge to the students.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely nice. Sorry, Papiya.
I have a question. What is the procedure if someone from outside wants to work on the instruments which JBNSTS has got? How do you do that?
They will give an application, and if that is definitely, we will check it. And if the time is feasible for us, if the time and his or her requirement or anything matches with us, definitely they're allowed to do it. They're welcome to do it. Because I always believe that if the instruments are kept idle, so they will get spoiled. So definitely it's better that someone works it.
But if you allow anybody or everybody to handle the instrument, that will be bad, because nobody will be responsible for anything happening to the instrument. So you should probably have a technical assistant who will do the work for the outsiders. That way you are not
No. No, Papiya, I didn't mean that. If anyone comes to work here, definitely our scientists, our project staffs, they will handle the instrument. They can bring their sample, they will work, but definitely I will not allow to handle the instrument of their own, because every instrument requires some training before using it.
Okay, I understand.
Another question.
Any other questions? But I want Soni Gupta to say something. Poor girl, she's standing there all the time. Soni Gupta, you don't have any question?
No, she's listening everything.
I can see that. What are you studying?
Soni, you have
Teaching now.
Huh?
Soni is teaching now.
Hello, ma'am. হ্যালো ম্যাম, অনেকদিন পর সবার সাথে দেখা করে খুবই ভালো লাগছে। ম্যাম, আমি এখন টিচার এন্ড সিভিল সার্ভিসের জন্য এখন প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছি ম্যাম।
What are you teaching?
She is from mathematics.
Mathematics ম্যাম এন্ড এট আ প্রাইমারি স্কুল।
Very good. So you are in JBNSTS scholar?
কোথায় টিচিং করছো? কলকাতা?
না ম্যাম, আমি একদম রিমোট ভিলেজ থেকে দক্ষিণ দিনাজপুরের একটা গ্রাম পাথরঘাটা, সেখানে ম্যাম।
না তুমি কি JBNSTS?
আমি একদম, হ্যাঁ, 2011 ব্যাচ ম্যাম।
Okay, okay. Very good.
2011 ব্যাচ, আর রিমোট ভিলেজ আর সিভিল সার্ভিসের জন্য প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছি। আই হোপ যে আমি খুব তাড়াতাড়ি একটা ভালো নিউজ দিতে পারবো।
Okay.
আমাদের একজন স্কলার সোনি, শি ইজ ফ্রম IIT, আমাদের একজন স্কলার, শি ইজ কাম ইন দ্য টপ 20 অফ লাস্ট ইয়ার IAS এক্সাম, নেহা ব্যানার্জি।
ওয়াও, সেম ম্যাম। আমি খুব ট্রাই করব, আমি খুব হার্ড ওয়ার্ক করব। আমার কিছু ফ্যামিলিগত প্রবলেম ছিল, এত বছর আমি করতে পারিনি। আর লাস্ট 2 মান্থ ধরে আমি প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছি। আই হোপ যে আমি করতে পারবো ম্যাম। আমি খুব হার্ড ওয়ার্ক করবো। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Best wishes, Soni.
Thank you all of you.
All the best.
Debarghya
wanted to ask something.
Yeah, so during our times, I remember when after we received the scholarship, there was this sort of a get-together event at JBNSTS where we were told of what are the different programs that JBNSTS scholars will be, going through. That we have to do some project, we'll be encouraged to do some project, and we'll be presenting it. And then I remember Paromita was especially very excited about this thing called TEP. She said, you need to be aware of these lingo when you are part of JBNSTS. By TEP, we mean Talent Enrichment Program. And of course, that was another very enriching, a very exciting experience. All of us, we went to, in our batch, we went to Bangalore and we stayed together. There were 4 people staying together in one room, and we went for breakfast at the local place, and we went to several institutions. In fact, that has been that experience has I think it could be very valuable for me. I mean, to know what exists in Bangalore as a city in terms of scientific facilities. But my question is, so now that there are something like 100 scholars, like senior scholars and BKMB scholars included, how do you organize the talent enrichment program?
Right. In 2019, we organized the program. But at that time, we did not get the scope to the Vigyani Konna Medhavritti, because it was quite impossible since we had the government fund for it. That was not that much elaborated. But for the 50 scholars, senior scholars, we sent them the invitation letter, and it was made that first come, first serve basis. We had to, but finally we arranged the program for 45 scholars. And now, the fundings are better nowadays. So we went by flight with all the students, with 45 scholars. Me and Paromita both went there. Some days we shared actually the time. Some days Paromita was there, some days I was there, and Sharajit was there also. So we had a very good visits to all the institutes, and we also stayed at Bangalore because Bangalore is a good city to stay and there are so many hotels, and you know that 45 scholars is a very large group. But nowadays, you know that all the attitudes of the scholars and everything definitely has been changed a lot. That sometimes we are getting disturbed that when the scholars are staying at the hotel and we arrange, suppose after visiting all the day, we arrange some snacks in the evening, say bora and idli, etc., and coffee, which is available there. So after that, when we were at the portico of the hotel, then we found that many of the scholars independently, they ordered their pizza, they ordered their chow mein by Swiggy, and so their food is coming at their room. So definitely Shaurajit didn't like it. He told that, see how selfish these boys are, that they're taking their food separately from the others. But nowadays, you know, this will happen because the attitude of life is being changed. But we enjoyed a lot, and that we also visited IISc, JNCSR, NCBS, all the institute, ISRO, even at the Observatory Institute of Astrophysics. At that high altitude, the observatory also. So we 2019 also we organized it, but in 2020 everything is in mess. So I don't know when it's going to happen next time, but definitely that's a very good program. I always feel that.
In fact, when I was doing this research on JBNSTS scholars, the top score came for the selection process itself. Everybody, the maximum people talked about the selection process being one of the most important parts of their JBNSTS experiences. And the second was the talent enrichment program. Somebody said, like Debarghya said, I lived with 4 people. Somebody said, you know, my T-shirt was stolen and I only got it back 2 minutes before we were leaving for IISc. So all kinds of experiences. Somebody wrote, I met my first girlfriend there. All kinds of experiences have been reported. And like Maitree said that, Shaurajit said, na, এই ছেলেগুলো খুব দুষ্টু নিজেদের জন্য স্বিগি ওই করছে। I still remember আমরা মিসেস সেনের সাথে একটা জায়গায় গেছিলাম, again Bangalore. So somebody was being very naughty. So one of our staff members had told Mrs. Sen that ei cheleta khub badmaish. So the moment he said that, Mrs. Sen said, "Amader kono chele badmaish na, eta jene rakhbe." So we were not allowed to criticize any. And for her, everybody was, I think I've said this before, everybody was her boys. I mean, I don't know why she would not say my boys and girls. So she would talk about Shantosri or Madhusri, saying that they're all my boys and nobody's supposed to say anything negative about them.
Right.
I used to tell the scholars, don't call me, but say Papiya D. And Orishto was one student. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Orishto was a medical student. He said, Papiya D. He was surprised because I'm so much senior to him. I said, Papiya D means Papiya Didima. It is abbreviation of Papiya Didima. And then I got a letter from him. So that's for the issue, Papiya Didima, what was something. Papi Orishto. Very difficult. Anyway. Debarghya, many thanks for organizing this program. So we could hear so many things about JBNST. But I feel sorry for the scholars because we all went for this state program. The students went by train, and I, being a director, I got an opportunity to go by flight. And I felt sorry for them that they had to go by train, and now the scholars go by train.
I think Shampurna has a question. Shampurna, please.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay, I have
Yes, this is the first one is more of a comment. So the facilities we are talking about and the Debarghya saw in back in 2014 is our facilities. I think we were the first people who worked on the biotechnological aspect and we helped set up the lab. So I'm very proud of it because we were there when the equipment purchase was going on, and I was like trying to convince Abhijit sir to buy an autoclave, and he was like, why can't you sterilize things in microwave? So that was a very interesting conversation. So it's really good. I learned a lot of like basic biology research from that lab, so it was great for me. The next is not really a question but a suggestion. So I have old laptops in my house, and I'm sure other scholars do have that. And I was wondering if we can pool that and help the students who don't have access to technology. It is just a thought, and if it's like problem logistically, then it's fine. But I
get your point. What is in your home?
I have old laptops or even smartphones. Like, yeah.
Okay. Definitely.
It will be a great help. It will be a great help.
Definitely. Definitely. If you can share those things with the scholars, there are scholars, even there are scholars who don't have that facility.
I think if you can just put out a note in JBSPDF, I'm sure many will contact you individually if they need it.
Okay. Right.
Where is she put the note? Is there any comment?
In the Slack, I can also put it in the Google group if that's better.
Google group is better. Everybody can see that. And then maybe some more people. I have also got some. Thank you.
But I don't know whether Google group is for our scholars.
No, it's for our scholars. Yes.
No, but I think, Paromita, the problem is that the junior scholars will not get in touch with that, because I think actually that is most required for the class 12 students who are in junior level. Because for senior scholars, now the scholarship amount is also high, that is 4,000 rupees per month, and they're at the stage of their education, so that they perhaps they have to purchase it, etc. But the students who are in class 11 and 12, they cannot continue their classes and anything, but they actually, we found that they come from more underprivileged families. Is not that, Paromita?
Absolutely.
So I have
students.
Where did she put that?
There are about 3 students right now we know who didn't have computers, but we have somehow managed to get them computers because they were not being able to do their online classes.
Okay.
So I was just similar to what Shampurna mentioned, or along the lines of what she mentioned. Do you think from JBNSTS you can mention how could senior scholars help the junior ones, like financially or through these methods, like having laptops or other resources? And we can probably circulate that among the JBSPDF members, because that is. And we know that many members, all of them pretty much, they open their emails and they read that. And we have more than 400 members currently. So we can definitely communicate the message, and we can have within the form, we can probably have some options of what you think can be provided. And also in addition, if they have they come up with their own ways of contributing, and then they can get in touch with you of how to make that happen. So we can definitely...
Yes. What happens in this situation?
Wonderful suggestion, Debarghya, wonderful. I think if sometimes actually me and Paromita come across this type of problems from the scholars. So whenever next time we get such problems, then maybe that we contact with you and JBSPDF so that you can communicate within your friend circle, within your JBSPDF circle. And if someone comes with the help, definitely that will be wonderful.
এক্স্যাক্টলি, আমি সেটাই বলতে চাইছিলাম, দ্যাট ইনস্টিটিউশনালি আমরা যদি একটা সবাইকে বলি যে তোমাদের কি চাই, সেটা বোধহয় আমাদের করাটা বেশি ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট। কিন্তু আমরা তো অফ এন্ড অন উই কিপ কামিং টু নো দ্যাট কার কি দরকার। সো আই কমপ্লিটলি এগ্রি উইথ মৈত্রীদি যে 350 জনকে যদি আমরা বলি যে তোমরা কি চাও আমাদের জানাও, that is going to be very difficult to handle, and organizationally it's very difficult. But we keep coming to know about who needs such aids. So once we know that, say we have a list of 4 or 5 people, then we will pass it on to you, and then we will pass on their address to you so that you can directly get in touch with them and talk to them, and they can come and pick up the stuff from JBNSTS. That is not, because this will also create a sort of a bridge between the junior and senior scholar. Rather than, we formally giving it, it'll be nice if then we get you in touch with that particular person, and then you take it from there.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That will definitely work.
Even sometimes it happens that some scholars are getting disappointed that he or she is not getting any further chances after completing MSc, or she's not getting chances in PhD abroad. So in that cases also, I have thought that in such cases, I will mention to you, because you can mentor them, you can guide them how to apply, how to, and what are the different avenues for them. So I think as well as academically, as well as for their financially, or any type of this type of help with their device or anything. Next time, whenever we get such problems, we'll discuss with you.
Yeah, I think that will be really nice. In fact, the JBSPDF was formed with that thought in mind. And I would say that there is already some mentorship going on. We organize, as you all also know, we share the communications with you each week. So we have been organizing different events that would be on a broader scope of, which could be useful for many people probably. And in addition, we have the Slack workspace, and personally, I can say people have reached out to me. I know Shampuna has also been approached by juniors, and I'm sure there are other similar conversations that have happened. Also, what we have done is we have compiled this comprehensive database through which it's not just the name and the batch of JBNSTS fellowship or scholarship. We also have the information of what role they currently are, like each scholar currently is, which university they are from, or which company they are working at, in what position, what are their expertise areas, and their at least one email, sometimes 2 emails, their LinkedIn URL, and their personal website URL. So we feel that that's probably a good enough starting point if someone wants to get mentorship on a subject basis, so they can search through that database. And each week's this communication has the link to that. It never changes. So, but we still include it in each week's communication so that you don't have to remember or bookmark that, and you can, whenever you need it, you'll find that out. So that's what we have sort of put in place.
No,
but sure, if there are some.
Let me tell you, Debarghya, this JBSPDF is absolutely godsend as far as I'm concerned, because I didn't know, I was very worried that in a few years after I leave JBNSTS, it's going to be very difficult to maintain this kind of data. I mean, what I've been doing for the last 27 years, I wanted the right platform to hand it over so that you can carry it on. So it's absolutely godsend, and now I just don't have to worry anymore. I'm just going to catch hold of any one of you and say that this is here it is, please take it over. In fact, I have shared almost all the information I have with Maitree's permission with you. So now you can just take it forward.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, within the JBSPDF, whoever have joined, they already know the avenues. Some who have not joined, who may reach out to you, you can definitely again, contact us, and we'll try to help.
How many of them joined, Debarghya? How many of them joined?
We have a total of 480 members right now.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it has a bulk from the recent years when the number of scholarships have also increased.
Absolutely.
But still, it's about 50%. So about 200 from the recent ones, and the rest from 1960 through 2015, 16.
That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah, I would like to just speak out, like Dr. Udayande has mentioned few things which are, I think, for JBNSTS. He thinks that if there could be stress on interdisciplinary study and research, okay, so it has been rightly pointed out in this meet, work of Professor J.C. Bose is yet one of the best examples of interdisciplinary investigations in science and instrumentation. In collaboration with Bose Institute, JBNSTS can show his experimental setups to primarily new scholars and also to others. His novel and pioneering work in plant science, radio transmission, and optics are documented in books and journals, but not discussed widely. So there can be seminars to recall these through science lectures, perhaps with demonstrations, as he used to do. Second,
Udanda, may I just reply to this? Every year there are visits to Bose Institute. If not every year, every alternate year, definitely. And till the last time we did this, the curator of the Bose Institute Museum was very much a part of this team, and scholars themselves through their schools now, apart from those who come from distant districts, Kolkata scholars through their schools already have exposure to Bose Institute's facilities. But yes, thank you. We will keep this in mind. And as Maitree yesterday also said in the annual award ceremony, we are very quickly moving towards a thrust in interdisciplinary research. And even our scholars seem to come up with ideas that are more interdisciplinary than just focused on one domain. Yes, next question, next suggestion from Udayanda.
In online exams, exam centers with good internet facility may be arranged in each district or mahakuma for remote area students who lack internet.
We that was our first plan this year, but the pandemic turned bad, and even that was not safe for students to go to such places. And we spoke to many agencies, and many agencies said that, for example, TCS said that we can only do it for about 17 of the 22 states. And there's no guarantee that the students would come into such a place. So hopefully, Udayanda, by next year, we'll have that machinery better. Because we are not doing that.
That's a good idea.
The most important question is, till now, there is an embargo from government that not to hold physical meeting or physical get together anywhere, but even for the examination purpose. So government has decided to organize the Madhyamik examination first in this year on from 1st of June. So they're planning to organize a physical examination in June only. Before that, all the examinations had to organize from their home. Even nowadays, presently, the university examinations are being held, the students from their home. So it's not allowed to go to any center.
Yes, only this is for long-term thing, when things are better.
Okay, Debarghya.
Yes,
Paromita, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Papiya. Thank you for being with us.
Okay.
Good night, Papiya. Good night.
Good night.
He also says that 5 students from each school has been suggested. I guess that's the block level and then district level, this examination that you mentioned. Often, many students miss information during the selection of 5. So it is suggested that JBNSTS organizes internet and physical scientific publicity through the schools to all the students. This will also test and improve internet there.
Yeah, that part is being taken care of from the Directorate of School Education of West Bengal and Madhyashikha Parshad. So they're actually from West Bengal Board of Secondary Education and the Directorate of School Education, they're giving the circulars through the district inspector, assistant inspector, and sub-inspector level to each and every school of the block.
Yes, I would like to add one easy comment. That is, sometimes many students miss it, and those who are really keeping good contact with teachers, that is the good point. They get information and many people do not get. So if there are some publicity meetings, either through internet or something by some JBSTS people or scholars, JBSTS scholars who volunteer to do that, then many people will know it. Like, for example, Humboldt Foundation does that to different universities to get better scholars from everywhere. This is just a suggestion.
Yes, Udanda. Thank you very much. We have done this. Yes. We have already done this extensively for this year's examination. We have contacted remotest of schools. We have done that, and that is why we had more than nearly 8,000 students appearing in our remote proctored exam.
Paromita, more than 100 online meetings were organized during our examination.
Yes, yes. So our effort will always be there, but like Maitree said, because it is a school education initiative, it is now, they will send the letters, but of course we will do a follow-up. But then you will understand that we will not be able to reach within 1 year or even 5 years all the schools. But yes, we are getting there, and we will definitely try and do as much as possible. And if necessary, we'll take in more people to do the events for us.
Even for our examination these days, people cannot say that somebody has missed the information, because this time also we made 3 times large advertisement in the newspapers, in all Bengali and in English newspapers. So actually, perhaps we spent about 10 lakh of rupees for the advertisement in the newspapers.
I see. So I think we are maybe a little bit over time, but if someone else has other questions or comments, please feel free to mention that in the chat or unmute yourself and say it. And I would like to add one thing along the lines of how JBNSTS and JBSPDF members or senior former JB scholars could be involved. In addition to what we already discussed, I think several of the scholars during our meetings, they have, like our initial meetings when we were forming the forum, they mentioned that they would like to get involved directly with JBNSTS through these science camps or different programs that JBNSTS holds for the current JB senior scholars or BKMB scholars. So I think we can, in a way that you think would be nice, you definitely, invite several senior scholars you have been inviting. But now with if the physical presence is not required, I think that can be expanded to people staying abroad India as well. So I think that somewhere JBSPDF could help in spreading the message or getting the right kind of people. In fact, you already have the updated database through which you can probably search and maybe contact them directly, or if you think we can help in some way from a forum's perspective, then we'll also be happy to do that.
Absolutely. That'll be definitely done, and it's always being done. Whenever we do a program, our first way of going about it is, who's a JB scholar in the field. I think this was a great forum.
Oh, another message I wanted to put forth is JB Scholar, I think 2008 batch, Tomanud Modak. He is at Ames, and he is a researcher in psychiatry, and so he mentioned, so he mentioned that he would be very willing to give like mental support sessions if needed for scholars. So along in addition to academic or financial guidance, if someone needs mental support, maybe from outside the JBSPDF community, because we have restricted ourselves to the senior scholars, but I'm sure Tomanuda will be willing to help other scholars as well. So if Paramita, Maitree, they are already there, but maybe
it always helps.
Yeah.
No, it always helps to have a professional psychiatrist.
And moreover, Debarghya, I think that another point is that you are much young, so the scholars can communicate, can make bonding with you much stronger than us. So definitely, maybe they cannot open up to us, but they will open up to you. It is very much possible.
I wanted to add a point to this. Like, I remember having sort of a basic induction after we got our scholarship. And I was mentioning if Paramita could mention what imposter syndrome is and talk about it to people, because we sort of, at least at PhD level, get a heads up before we start our PhDs, and that are very helpful for us. And I think it's a very common problem in academia. Nobody talks about it, and the earlier you know about it, the better it is. So I just, to add to Debarghya's point.
Thank you.
So I think, Debarghya, you can... Debarghya, you mentioned about Tomanud. Where is he working now?
Ames, New Delhi. Psychiatry, Ames Delhi Psychiatry.
Okay, so please arrange a session with him, and you can communicate to our scholars. Perhaps many of them will be interested to attend.
Sure. Yeah, we actually had a session, but that was directed towards how to build a career in medicine. What are the different options? What are the research options, and so on. So he was a panelist there, and
I was so much hoping to join that, and I forgot.
Sure. So I think we definitely had a very memorable time today. Having sort of a getting back to school, getting back to JBNSTS feeling. So thank you very much, Maitree. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Of course.
Bye. Take care. Be in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.